There are a few normal sentences that instantly kill attraction. And chances are, you're using them every day. There's something most guys never notice until it's too late. Attraction doesn't usually disappear because of one big mistake. It doesn't end with a dramatic argument or a clear rejection. Most of the time, it fades quietly, slowly, almost invisibly. And sometimes, it starts with something as simple as a sentence. A few words you didn't think twice about. A tone that felt normal to you. A casual response that seemed harmless in the moment. But in her mind, something shifts. Not instantly, not dramatically, but enough to change how she feels about you. And that's the dangerous part, because you won't notice it right away. She'll still reply, she'll still talk, everything will seem fine, but the energy will be different. Slightly colder, slightly less interested, slightly more distant. And over time, that small shift becomes a pattern. Until one day, she's just not the same anymore. The truth is, what you say matters far more than you think. Not just the meaning of your words, but the feeling behind them. Because attraction isn't built on logic, it's built on emotion. And certain phrases, even common ones, can quietly kill that emotional connection without you realizing it. One of the most common things guys say is, "You're overreacting." On the surface, it sounds like you're trying to calm things down or bring logic into the situation. But from her perspective, it feels like dismissal. It feels like you're telling her that her emotions aren't valid or that she shouldn't feel the way she does. And when someone feels emotionally dismissed, they don't feel closer to you. They feel misunderstood. That misunderstanding creates distance, not instantly, but gradually. She may not argue back, she may not call it out, but something inside her pulls away. Another phrase that seems harmless but carries a deeper impact is, "Whatever, do what you want." It sounds casual, maybe even neutral, but underneath it communicates something much stronger: emotional withdrawal. It tells her that you're done engaging, that you don't care enough to continue the conversation, that her opinion or the situation doesn't matter enough to you. And nothing kills attraction faster than indifference. Attraction needs presence. It needs engagement. It needs the feeling that you're mentally and emotionally there. The moment you communicate that you've checked out, even subtly, you create distance. Then there's the phrase many guys use to justify harsh comments: "I'm just being honest." Honesty is important, but honesty without awareness can easily turn into bluntness or insensitivity. The issue isn't the truth, it's how that truth is delivered. When honesty lacks empathy, it doesn't feel like honesty. It feels like criticism. And criticism, especially early on, creates tension instead of connection. It makes her more guarded, more cautious, less open. Over time, that guardedness replaces comfort. And when comfort disappears, attraction struggles to survive. Another subtle but powerful mistake happens in moments that are supposed to be exciting. Like when you ask, "Can I kiss you?" Now, this isn't about the words themselves, it's about the energy behind them. If it comes from confidence, it can feel respectful and natural. But if it comes from hesitation, uncertainty, or fear, it breaks the moment. Because attraction responds to energy. Confidence builds tension. It creates that spark. But hesitation disrupts it. It signals doubt, and that doubt changes how she perceives you in that moment. Instead of feeling pulled in, she feels unsure. Sometimes it's not what you say directly, it's what your words imply. For example, saying something like, "My schedule's pretty flexible," might seem harmless, but it can send a subtle message that you don't have much going on in your life. And while being available sounds positive, too much availability lowers perceived value. Attraction is often connected to how you live your life. When your time feels valuable, you feel valuable. But when it seems like you're always free, always waiting, always available, it creates the opposite effect. It doesn't make you more attractive. It makes you easier to overlook. Another common mistake isn't a specific phrase, but a pattern, talking too much about yourself. You share your stories, your experiences, your opinions, thinking you're being interesting and engaging. But from her perspective, it can feel one-sided. Conversation isn't just about expressing yourself. It's about connection. It's about making the other person feel seen, heard, and involved. And when she doesn't feel involved, she disconnects emotionally. That disconnection doesn't happen all at once. It builds quietly until she no longer feels engaged in the interaction. Then there's a phrase that seems casual, but often backfires. Let's just hang out. It sounds relaxed, low pressure, easy. But that's exactly the problem. It's too vague. It lacks direction. It lacks intention. And when something lacks intention, it often feels like low effort. Attraction isn't just about chemistry. It's also about clarity. When you're clear in what you want, when you plan something specific, when you take initiative, it creates a sense of direction. But when you're vague, it creates uncertainty. And uncertainty, in this context, doesn't build attraction. It weakens it. What makes all of this tricky is that none of these phrases are obviously wrong. They're normal, common, things people say every day without thinking.
But attraction doesn't operate on logic. It operates on perception. Each of these small moments sends a subtle signal. Maybe it signals emotional unawareness. Maybe it signals lack of confidence. Maybe it signals low effort or imbalance. Individually, they don't seem like a big deal. But together, they form a pattern. And that pattern slowly changes how she feels about you, often without either of you realizing it in the moment. This is why attraction rarely disappears because of one big mistake. It's not about one wrong sentence or one awkward moment. Instead, it's a series of small, almost invisible interactions that build up over time and create a certain emotional impression. At first, everything feels fine. Conversations flow, the energy is there, and nothing seems out of place. But gradually, something shifts. The excitement fades, the connection feels weaker, and the interaction starts to feel different.
Not dramatically different, just slightly off. And that slightly off feeling is what slowly changes everything. There's even a concept people often talk about called the ick. It's that sudden drop in attraction that seems to come out of nowhere. One moment, everything feels normal, and the next, something just doesn't feel right anymore. What makes it confusing is that it's rarely triggered by something big. It's usually something small. A tone, a phrase, a reaction, something subtle that creates a feeling that's hard to explain but impossible to ignore. And that's exactly why words matter more than most people think. Because words don't just communicate information, they carry energy. They reflect your mindset, your confidence, and your level of emotional awareness. The way you speak reveals how you see yourself and how you relate to others. And people don't just hear your words, they feel the intention and emotion behind them. So the real question isn't what should I say? It's how am I coming across? The solution isn't about memorizing perfect lines or trying to say everything flawlessly. It's about becoming more aware of how your words affect the other person. Small adjustments in how you communicate can completely change how you're perceived.
Instead of dismissing someone's emotions, even if you don't fully agree, try acknowledging them. That simple shift creates understanding instead of distance. It shows emotional awareness, which is far more attractive than trying to be right. Instead of being vague or uncertain, be clear. Show intention. When you know what you want and express it confidently, it creates a sense of direction and stability. That clarity makes interactions feel more meaningful. Instead of over-explaining or trying too hard to impress, focus on being present. Let the conversation flow naturally. When you're relaxed and grounded, your communication feels effortless. And that effortlessness is what draws people in. And most importantly, shift your focus from impressing to connecting. Because the most attractive communication doesn't come from saying the perfect thing. It comes from creating the right feeling. At the core of all this is one simple truth. Attraction isn't built on words alone, but words reveal something deeper. They reveal how you think, how you feel, and how you carry yourself.
When your words come from calm confidence, emotional awareness, and genuine presence, attraction happens naturally. Not because you're trying to impress, but because you're being real in a way that feels authentic and easy. Most guys don't lose attraction because they did something obviously wrong. They lose it because of things they didn't even realize mattered. A sentence said casually, a tone that felt normal, a moment where something just didn't feel right. And she may never explain it. She may never tell you exactly what changed, but she will feel it. And that feeling is what changes everything. Because at the end of the day, she won't remember every word you said, but she will always remember how you made her feel. And that feeling is what determines whether attraction grows or quietly fades away. If this opened your eyes, the next video will change everything. Subscribe now.